Good morning, this is Todd Hubbs, agricultural economist at the University of Illinois. Today I'm discussing my weekly outlook on January 2nd, 2019, talking about what might happen in January USDA reports if and when they come out. I think there's some potential for price support coming out of these reports, so I'd like to see them come out sooner than later. In particular, I'm going to talk about the crop production report, the winter wheat seedings report, and the December 1st corn stocks numbers. When we're thinking about the January crop production report, I think there's a general expectation out there that 2018 corn and soybean production are going to move lower. We saw the yield for both corn and soybeans fall between October and November. This tends to see the January to November yield change as well. We've also seen problems with harvest. Maybe we'll lose a few acres out there in corn and soybeans here in Illinois. In the middle of December, we still saw some soybeans out in the field, and there's been some problems in the southern plains and western corn belt as well. What you're seeing in this graph here is corn yield changes from 1997 through 2017. And what you see is when we see a yield change from November to October that's negative, we tend to see a similar size yield change from January to November. Now, it doesn't always hold, but if that was to materialize, we'd probably see a corn yield around 177.2 bushels an acre. I think it might be a little bit higher than that, but even if it is, if we lose another half to 1 bushel out of the current projection of 178.9, that's really supportive for corn prices moving forward. Similarly, when we look at soybean yield changes from 1997 to 2017, like shown in this graph, when we see a reduction from November to October, we also tend to see it from January to November. On average, it's been about 0.27 bushels an acre. If we saw that come to fruition this year, soybean yield would be about 51.8 bushels an acre nationally. That would be supportive to soybean prices, even though the trade issues are still going on. We could also see some acreage come out of both corn and soybeans, as harvest was really tough in a lot of places, particularly out in Kansas and parts of the southern plain. This has more implications maybe for winter wheat seedings than it does anything else. Right now, by my projections, I think winter wheat acres will be down around 1.5% from last year's 32.5 million acres, and that may hold implications for both corn and soybean acres out in the southern plains as we move into 2019 and thinking about what kind of acreage we'll have. The last big report in January that I think holds some promise, particularly for corn prices, the December 1st corn stocks report. Right now, the USDA has feed and residual projected at 5.5 billion bushels of use in the 2018-19 marketing year. If that projection is correct, I think we'll see around 2.33 billion bushels of use in the first quarter. If that is correct, that would be really supportive for corn prices. I think we'll probably be a little bit short of that because it'd be the highest amount in the first quarter in the last 5 years, as shown in this graph. If we assume USDA's projections correct and we do hit 2.33 billion bushels of use for feed and residual in the first quarter, I've calculated a total supply moving into December of about 16.77 billion bushels. When you take into account the other uses, which we have readily available with some error, I see December 1st stocks about 12.1 billion bushels with the current production. If we see actual corn production fall, we could see the stocks to use move even lower. So that could be supportive to corn prices as well. And the January USDA reports are going to be a real indicator of what we can see for corn and soybean prices in 2019. We're seeing some important supply, use, and acreage allotment information coming out in these reports, and I'd like to see them sooner rather than later because I think there may be some support there for both corn and soybean prices. Overall, I think the January reports from the USDA could be helpful for corn and soybean prices moving forward. I'd like to see them come out. Who knows how this partial shutdown is going to play out, but if we could get some resolution and get those numbers out there, we could see some good information that'll help us moving into 2019. I'd like to thank you for your time. You can find my weekly outlook and daily analysis of issues related to Corn Belt farming economics at farm.daily.illinois.edu. I look forward to seeing you around the state of Illinois.